Chapter 1. It was late, well past midnight, by the time my husband finally walked through the door. His eyes were red, and there was a heaviness about him that I couldn't quite place. I poured him a glass of apple juice and stood by, waiting to see what he needed. He took a sip and winced. "Too hot," he muttered. I quickly added some ice. But after another sip, he frowned again. "Now it's too cold." I fished out the ice cubes as fast as I could, trying to keep up with his shifting moods. After a few minutes, he looked at me, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Where's Emma?" "Emma's our daughter. Just started middle school this year." "She's at a friend's house," I said. "They were studying, and it got too late, so she stayed over." He didn't say anything for a while, he just stood there staring into space. Then, almost as if suddenly remembering something, he said, "There's an emergency at the hospital. I need to head back." I hurried to pack a change of clothes for him and placed his shoes by the door, ready for him to slip them on. He hesitated, though, pausing in the doorway. "Don't you want to know what happened at the hospital?" His tone was casual, but there was something else underneath. I smiled softly, the kind of smile that says I know my place. "Sweetheart, you know I wouldn't understand even if you told me. I'm just a housewife. If there's something important, I'm sure you'll take care of it. Go on, don't let me keep you." He seemed satisfied with that. Perhaps I played the part too well. He took the clothes from my hands, put on his shoes, and left without another word. But just before the door closed behind him, he glanced back at me, his eyes searching for something. Too bad for him, I wasn't the same woman he once knew. I had learned my lesson the hard way. In my previous life, asking too many questions had cost me everything, my life and, more tragically, my daughters. But this time, I wasn't going to make the same mistake. I wasn't going to get tangled up in matters that would only lead me to ruin. I'd let him play his games and I'd wait. Sooner or later, he'd get what was coming to him. Chapter 2. "Sarah, your husband's back at the hospital. Jane's with him. Looks like they've kissed and made up," read the text on my phone. I quickly typed out a thanks and put the phone down. The message was from Ava, a nurse who worked in the same department as my husband. She and I had met in college. We used to be in the same student group. I helped her out back then, and we'd stayed on friendly terms ever since. In my last life, Ava had tried to warn me, dropping hints about my husband's affair in ways that I foolishly didn't pick up on. I was too trusting, too blinded by my belief in him. I didn't take her words seriously, even when I should have. The moment I realized I'd been given a second chance, I reached out to Ava and asked her to fill me in on everything. I begged her to keep me in the loop if she heard anything suspicious. Ava agreed without hesitation. She promised to keep me updated whenever something was off. With that handled, I called my sister and asked her to take Emma for a while. If things got messy, I didn't want my daughter caught in the middle. I needed her far away from whatever storm was brewing. After making sure Emma was safe, I turned my attention back to my phone and pulled up the hospital's website. I was searching for one person in particular, William. William was an ER doctor at my husband's hospital, and more importantly, he was Jane's new fling. My husband suspected something, but he hadn't put all the pieces together yet. If he had, Jane wouldn't have been able to smooth things over so easily. In my last life, I had only started to uncover the tangled mess between the three of them right before everything fell apart. But now I knew better. William was 48, a full decade older than my husband. My husband might have had youth and looks on his side, but William had something far more valuable: influence. He could offer Jane things my husband couldn't. That's why she kept them both around. After reading up on William, I started searching for job openings near the hospital. If I wanted to keep an eye on things, I needed to be close by. It didn't take long to find something. A small restaurant near the hospital was looking for part-time help. Perfect. It was flexible, and the requirements were simple: just under 50 years of age and a high school diploma. I saved the contact number for the restaurant and sent them a message, explaining I was interested in the job. The money wasn't important. What mattered was positioning myself in the right place. The manager hadn't responded yet, but I wasn't worried. It was already well past 1 a.m. after all. I set my phone down and got ready for bed. As I lay there staring at the ceiling, one thing was clear. This time I wasn't going to sit back and wait for things to unravel. This time I was going to take control. Chapter 3. By noon the next day, I got a message inviting me to an interview at the restaurant. I put on makeup, completely different from my usual look, and grabbed a mask and a hat before heading out, wanting to keep things low-key. The interview went off without a hitch. The owner was a woman, divorced, raising a kid on her own, and running the restaurant to make ends meet. There were only 3 of us working there, including me. Most of the time, the boss and the chef could handle things by themselves, but during lunch and dinner rushes, they needed an extra set of hands. I was in the back, slipping a pair of sleeves over my arms and getting ready to wash dishes, when I heard someone placing an order at the front counter. Glancing through the crack in the kitchen door, I froze. It was Jane. "Jack, I feel so bad dragging you out to eat after your night shift. You must be exhausted," she cooed, her voice dripping with sweetness. She was the kind of woman who knew exactly how to play the innocent, needy card. "Come on, don't say that," Jack replied. "We're together now, right? It's my job to take care of you. Unless, of course, you're planning on running off with someone else." Under the table, I saw him nudge her foot with his, a playful but intimate gesture. Jane giggled, not even bothering to hide her pleasure. Well, I didn't expect to hit the jackpot today. Not only was Jane involved with my husband and William, but now she had a 3rd guy on the hook. The drama at the hospital really never ends. "By the way," Jack said, his voice dropping slightly, "what's going on between you and that Liam guy from your department? I stopped by the hospital yesterday and saw him touching your shoulder. What's that about?" "Liam? My husband?" I kept my head down, scrubbing dishes, but my ears were on high alert. Jane let out a soft laugh. "Oh, that? It's nothing, Jack. I was just tired from the night shift, and Liam was being nice, giving me a little shoulder massage. He wasn't trying to cross any lines, I promise. You better make sure he knows you're taken. I don't want him getting any funny ideas." "Don't worry, Jack." Jane's voice was sugary sweet again, full of reassurances. Just then, their food arrived, and the conversation shifted to other things as they started eating. Chapter 4. Later that evening, when I got home, I noticed a pair of his shoes sitting by the front door. The new ones he'd worn out last night. I didn't say a word, just calmly tucked my mask and hat into the shoe cabinet and swapped them out for my slippers. As soon as he heard me come in, my husband came out from the bedroom, a frown already plastered on his face. "Where have you been?" "I went to pick up some groceries," I replied, holding up a bag of vegetables. In reality, they were a gift from the restaurant owner when I finished my shift. Ava had already texted me as soon as he left the hospital, so I knew he hadn't been home long, maybe half an hour at most. My excuse would hold up just fine. As expected, his expression softened a little. "Where's Emma?" "My sister missed her, so I let her take Emma for a few days. She's always been good with schoolwork, so I figured she could help Emma out while she's there." He narrowed his eyes, his tone now more scolding than angry. "Next time, talk to me before making decisions like that. Don't just do whatever you want." I gave him my best apologetic smile. "Of course, honey, that was my mistake. What would you like for dinner tonight?" "I'll make whatever you're in the mood for." He glanced at me, clearly searching for something to criticize, but when he couldn't find anything, he just tossed his dirty clothes onto the floor. "No need. I've got a department dinner tonight. I just came home to change." "Okay, honey," I said, bending down to pick up his clothes and toss them into the laundry basket. "Want me to wash these now so they're ready for tomorrow?" He ignored my question and instead asked, "Aren't you going to ask what time I'll be back?" I blinked, pretending to be surprised. "Oh, I didn't want to pressure you. I figured you'd be out having fun with your coworkers, and I didn't want to make you feel rushed. If you need me to unlock the door later, just give me a call." He paused, considering my words, and then nodded. "You've been acting really considerate lately. Maybe we should take a family vacation soon." I smiled to myself. That was a line he'd used so many times before. Every time it ended the same way, with him too busy at the hospital to follow through. "Thanks, honey," I said cheerfully, watching as he walked out the door. The moment he was gone, I pulled out my phone and sent a message to an unfamiliar number. "Can you meet me at Maple Leaf Cafe? I've got something you need to hear." Chapter 5. Half an hour later, a woman appeared at the entrance of the cafe, looking around. "Over here." I waved her over, gesturing to the seat across from me. Without wasting any time, I got straight to the point. You're Lily, Jack's girlfriend, right? That's me. And you are? I'm Sarah, Liam's wife. Liam? Oh, Dr. Liam, right? I've heard of him. You said you had something to tell me. What is it? I think it'll be easier if I just show you. I handed her one of my Bluetooth earbuds and hit play on the video file on my phone. It didn't take long, just a few minutes into the video, and Lily's face went pale. Her hand slammed down on the table, rattling the plates. That asshole. Jack, you piece of. Shoo. I cut her off, glancing around the cafe at the startled customers. Realizing she was causing a scene, Lily took a deep breath and muttered an apology to the people nearby, sinking back into her chair. Sarah, when did you record this? Earlier today around lunchtime. Luckily, I brought my mini camera with me, the one I used to film cooking videos. When I saw Jane walk into the restaurant, I clipped it to my shirt and started filming. Without it, I wouldn't have the evidence. Lily was practically shaking with anger, her voice low and cold. We're supposed to be getting married soon, and he's out here screwing around with someone else? I leaned in. Look, I get it. I've been there. But losing your temper isn't going to fix anything. Honestly, my husband's involved with Jane too. So, how about we team up and give them a little taste of their own medicine? For a moment, Lily just stared at me, her eyes narrowing. Then with a slow nod, she said, All right, Sarah. I'm in. What's the plan? 10 minutes later, after I laid out everything, Lily pulled out her phone and sent Jack a quick message. After settling the bill, we hopped into a cab and headed to Harmony Hotel, just a few streets away. Ava had told me this was the spot where Jack and his group were having dinner. There, Lily hissed, pointing as we ducked behind a parked car. We watched as Jack's car slowly pulled into the hotel parking lot. Just as he locked his car, the hotel doors swung open. Jane came out, clinging to my husband, who looked a little unsteady on his feet. Ava was following close behind, her phone out, recording the whole thing. Ava was really going above and beyond. She'd probably send me the video later. Jane, what the hell is going on? Lily's voice rang out, sharp and angry. Jane's head shot up, her eyes wide as she locked onto Jack standing across the parking lot. Chapter 6. What happened next was straight out of a soap opera. Jane glanced between Jack and my husband, clearly trying to figure out how to handle the situation. My husband, drunk and barely aware of what was happening, didn't even notice the tension. Jane quickly handed him off to one of their colleagues and hurried over to Jack. I couldn't hear what she was saying, but whatever it was, it worked. Jack's anger seemed to vanish almost instantly. A few minutes later, he pulled Jane into his arms and kissed her right there in front of everyone. Jack. The voice was familiar, and when I turned to look, Lily was gone. She had marched right up to them before I could stop her. This wasn't good. Jack didn't seem like the type to handle confrontation well, and I didn't want Lily getting hurt if things got heated. But oddly enough, Lily didn't seem mad. In fact, she looked confused, like she wasn't sure what she was seeing. Pointing at Jane, she asked, Who is she? Jack froze, his eyes darting between Jane and Lily. He coughed awkwardly, quickly pulling his arm away from Jane. Oh, her? She's just a colleague from the hospital. She's had too much to drink, and I was just helping her out. Didn't you say you'd be late? Why are you here so soon? I finished earlier than I thought, Lily said, her voice calm and casual, like she hadn't just witnessed him making out with another woman. Your colleague looks like she's had a rough night. Why don't you take her home? We can have dinner tomorrow instead. Jack blinked, clearly not expecting that response. Really? You're okay with that? Of course, Lily said with a warm smile. It's no big deal. Just make sure she gets home safe. Jack still looked suspicious, but he turned to Jane, who was standing there with her arms crossed, trying to figure out what was happening. Thanks, Jane muttered, clearly unsure of how to play along. I appreciate that, Lily. Lily smiled again. Why don't you give me your number? That way, you can let me know when Jack gets you home safely. Without waiting for a response, Lily pulled out her phone. Great. Let me know when you're home and we'll arrange another time to meet up, Lily said, waving as she turned and walked away. Jack stood there watching her go, probably still trying to figure out how he'd gotten off the hook. Once Lily was out of sight, he turned back to Jane. giving her a playful slap on the backside before pulling her close again. I ducked further behind the car, not wanting to be seen. Just as I was settling into my hiding spot, I felt someone tap my shoulder. I turned to find Lily crouched beside me, a mischievous grin on her face. She raised her finger to her lips and whispered, "Shoo!" Chapter 7. I hadn't even been home for 2 minutes when my husband was dropped off at the door, courtesy of one of his co-workers. He was completely out of it. I changed him out of his clothes, wiped his face down with a damp towel, and got him settled in bed. Once that was taken care of, I left him in the bedroom to sleep it off, sat on the couch and waited for Lily to message me. Then my phone buzzed. It was a picture. The image was from Jane's latest social media post. She'd posted a cryptic photo, just 2 hands, one male, one female. It didn't take a genius to figure out what she was trying to imply. Lily. I knew this chick wouldn't keep quiet for long. I sent her back a thumbs up emoji. Earlier, when Lily and I had parted ways, she'd predicted this. "I bet Jane's going to pull something soon, you'll see," she'd said, smirking. I'd asked how she knew and she just shrugged, explaining that she had a radar for women like Jane. That sugary sweet on the surface but rotten underneath. I couldn't argue. Jane wasn't your run-of-the-mill troublemaker. She was bold and she made sure you knew it. Lily and I had split up pretty quickly after the whole scene earlier. Before heading off, she promised to keep me updated on any new developments. Sarah. Doesn't it bother you seeing your boyfriend cheat on you like that? When I discovered my husband's affair, I'd been devastated at first. The sadness eventually turned into pure anger, especially after the things that happened afterward. But Lily? She seemed way too calm for someone who had just caught their boyfriend red-handed. Lily. I had a feeling for a while now that something was going on. When you reached out, I mentally prepared myself for the worst. Sure, I'm pissed, but I'm not letting him off easy just because I'm mad. Lily. What good would it do to throw a fit? Break up on the spot? That'd just make things too easy for him. Lily. I'm guessing you feel the same way, Sarah. Otherwise, why would you bring this to me privately? Sarah. Exactly. I don't plan on letting my husband get away with it either. Lily. Girls like Jane never stop at just 2 guys. Do you have any other leads on her? Sarah. Actually, yeah. She's also been seeing William from the ER. He's divorced and single, but the problem is, we don't have anyone close enough to keep an eye on them. Lily. Wow, she's really playing the field. 3 guys, all from the same hospital? She's not even trying to be discreet. Sarah. Maybe she enjoys the thrill. I mean, why else would she dare to post those kinds of photos on social media? I mean, you can definitely tell. Lily. True. But what's your plan? Sarah. Well, I heard William's pretty good at boxing. Lily responded with a knowing emoji. Chapter 8. Sarah. I heard my husband calling from the bedroom and rushed in. By now, the morning sunlight was streaming through the windows, brightening up the room. He was sitting up in bed, rubbing his temples like he had a headache. How did I get home? I handed him a glass of hangover soup. You got pretty drunk last night. One of your colleagues brought you home. He paused mid-sip, looking a little uneasy. Which colleague? Some guy. I didn't catch his name, but I think he works in your department. He nodded slowly, seemingly relieved, and didn't ask anything else. After breakfast, I watched him leave for work. Once he was out the door, I pulled out my phone and started scrolling through some gossip blogs. I'd saved a few useful videos from last night's drama, and I needed to sort through them. Around noon, I grabbed my mask and hat and headed to my part-time gig at the restaurant. The place was packed, both dine-in and takeout orders. From the looks of it, most of the customers had family members over at the hospital. Surprisingly, there was no sign of Jane today. During a quick bathroom break, I accidentally sent my husband one of the videos I had bookmarked earlier from the gossip blogs. Once that was done, I got back to work. It wasn't until around 2 p.m., when things slowed down, that I checked my phone again. My husband had responded about 10 minutes after I sent the video with a simple question mark. I replied casually, I thought it was interesting. Figured you might want to check it out too. He didn't say anything after that. He was probably busy. That was fine. Whether he replied or not didn't matter. As long as he watched the video or even just read the headline, that was enough. I scrolled through my messages. Lily had sent me something around lunchtime, a screenshot of her conversation with Jack. She'd sent him a video too, using the same tactic I had. His response: another confused question mark. Lily: told him it's one of those share a video, get a prize things. I'm just testing the waters. I couldn't help but smile. Lily was quick on her feet. We each had our own ways of playing this game. I sent her an okay emoji, letting her know we'd continue tomorrow. Chapter 9. For the next few days, Lily and I kept sending those same videos to our husbands. At first, they'd respond with a confused question mark, but by now they'd stopped reacting altogether. They were growing used to it, probably thinking it was just another random video we'd found. Then one afternoon, Lily messaged me again. Lily: oh, here we go. She's at it again. Lily: check out this picture. I opened the image. Sure enough, it was another one of Jane's social media posts. This time she was dressed to impress, wearing something provocative with 2 designer handbags artfully placed next to her. She was laughing, clearly enjoying herself, and someone was definitely behind the camera. Lily: what do you think? Did Jack take this photo? Or did she rope in some random guy to play photographer? Sarah: I'm betting it was Jack. He probably wanted to capture the moment. And you can be sure she blocked him from seeing this post. It's all part of her little game to mess with you. Lily: what about your side? Any moves from Liam? Sarah: nothing yet. Buying a car isn't exactly a quick decision, you know? Liam's not the type to throw money around easily. Even if he's got the cash, he'll still think it through. Sarah: but this post is interesting. If Jane didn't block him from seeing it, it might give him that final push. Lily: our plan is working perfectly. A few nights ago, Lily and I had come up with a strategy. Our goal? Stir up some chaos within Jane's little harem and push them all to the breaking point. Jane might be good at playing multiple men at once, but even she wouldn't be able to juggle them forever. Sure, she was still managing to keep things together for now, but we could already see the cracks forming. But here's the thing. Even if Jane's lies came crashing down, what would happen? A few arguments, maybe some broken hearts, but in the end they'd all slink back to their own lives, lick their wounds and move on. That wasn't what Lily and I wanted. These guys didn't deserve an easy out. And my husband, he was more than just a cheating risk. He was dangerous, unpredictable. Even if things ended with Jane, who's to say he wouldn't find someone else? Divorce wasn't an option for him, and I wasn't about to live my life constantly looking over my shoulder. So Lily and I decided to double down. We'd use their insecurities to our advantage. William was still blissfully unaware, but both Jack and Liam were starting to feel the tension. They sensed that someone was coming between them and Jane, but they hadn't yet figured out who. From what I remembered of Liam in my past life, he was deeply obsessed with Jane. So much so that when things got tense, he'd lash out at our daughter just to blow off steam. That kind of behavior told me one thing. His feelings for Jane weren't just a fling. He was in deep. Lily said Jack was showing similar signs. He'd been taking more care with his appearance lately, dressing better, paying more attention to the details. It was obvious he was trying to impress her. If they were taking Jane seriously, and then Lily and I needed to turn up the pressure. Jack hadn't been working that long, and he wasn't exactly great with money. Lily started sending him videos about the best designer bags to buy. If you wanted to keep your girlfriend happy. As for Liam, he had more savings, so I bombarded him with videos about the kinds of cars that young women drool over. We kept the pressure on, and I refused to believe they'd be able to resist for long. Sure enough, today's post from Jane confirmed it. Jack had already taken the bait. Lily even told me she'd snuck into Jack's apartment while he was at work. Right there on his desk were the receipts for the designer bags. It was obvious what had happened. Jack had bought the bags and rushed over to give them to Jane without even bothering to hide the evidence. Since he and Lily weren't living together yet, and he probably didn't expect her to snoop around his place, he hadn't even tried to cover his tracks. A few days later, Lily called me, practically bursting with excitement. "You're not going to believe this. Someone actually bought her a car." Chapter 10. Sarah, when do you think they'll arrive? Probably soon. Ava said their department wasn't busy today, so they should be here in about 20 minutes. Earlier, Lily had noticed Jane's social media post showing a chat. The chat was between Jane and someone else, with Jane's avatar visible but the other person's hidden. Jane seemed excited, and the other person said they'd take her to a car dealership after work to buy her a car as a birthday gift. From the chat style, it was clear it was my husband. I had Ava subtly ask Jane about her plans, and Jane, thinking Ava was just envious, revealed everything. With the exact information, I sent Ava a thank you gift and took a leave from the restaurant, calling Lily to join me. We took a taxi to a cafe near the dealership, waiting for them to arrive. Within a few minutes, a familiar car came into view. My husband's here. Lily and I instinctively ducked, not wanting to be seen. The dealership staff seemed to know they were coming, greeting them with smiles. Once they were inside, Lily smacked her lips. "How much do you think your husband will spend on the car? The more the better. The higher the sunk cost, the angrier he'll be when Jane's deceit is exposed." Lily nodded, giving me a knowing smile. After about half an hour, a car slowly drove out of the dealership. Jane was in the driver's seat with my husband in the passenger seat. They seemed to be test driving the car. "A Tesla? That's quite an expensive car. Your husband really went all out." Lily took a sip of her coffee, sounding impressed. "Do you think Jane knows this is marital property? Accepting it so openly, isn't she afraid you'll take it back? Who knows? Maybe she thinks driving it even once is a win, and if it's taken back, she still doesn't lose." The test drive seemed to go well. As they soon returned to the dealership, Jane came out driving the new car. Watching them drive away, Lily pointed with her chin. "Do you think your husband paid in full or in installments?" "Definitely in full. Never underestimate a man's vanity." Lily scrolled through her phone and suddenly laughed. "Indeed." She showed me Jane's social media post, which included the full payment receipt. As we refreshed the page, another chat record appeared. Our eyes widened simultaneously. Then we exchanged a smile. "It looks like it's almost time to wrap this up. ## chapter 11. For the next few days, my husband barely came home. When he did, he often had a smile on his face and spoke more gently. Perhaps seeing my recent good behavior, he even sent me a few red envelopes, saying it was a reward for taking care of the house and our daughter. I looked at the total amount, less than $1,000, and smiled without saying anything. Since he gave it, I accepted it. Who wouldn't want free money? In my younger years, I had foolishly believed his words, quitting my job to become a housewife. He had said it was for the family, and I had complied. Later, I felt embarrassed to keep asking him for money, so I made some videos to earn a little extra, balancing our expenses and saving a bit. It was my own foolishness that left him with so much to spend on others. Now he could buy a car worth tens of thousands without batting an eye. "Sarah." My husband's voice came from the door, sounding drunk and a bit angry. "Why are you home so early today?" I had gotten used to him coming home after midnight or not at all. Seeing him at 9 was quite surprising. "Hick, if it weren't for Jane." He stopped mid-sentence, changing his tone. "If it weren't for a colleague having an emergency, I wouldn't have left halfway through. Sit on the couch. I'll make you some tea." While making tea, I secretly sent Lily a message, receiving a location pin in return. I forwarded the location to Ava, asking her to post it on social media. Ava complied, and I handed the tea to my husband, casually checking my phone. "Wow, your colleague Jane seems quite wealthy." "Jane? What about her?" Hearing Jane's name, my husband's hand shook, sobering up a bit as he leaned in to ask. "Tell me quickly." I showed him my phone screen. Ava posted on social media that someone gave Jane a villa. They're planning a housewarming party. My husband's face turned dark instantly. He grabbed my phone, demanding the villa's address. "Here. It's pinned." I pointed to the bottom of Ava's post. "Damn it. That bitch." He cursed, grabbing his car keys and storming out. I didn't stop him, watching him leave. After he was gone, I messaged Lily. "Sarah. Has Jack left yet?" Lily. "He's already on his way." Lily. "Let's sit back and watch the show." ## chapter 12. In the middle of the night, I was woken by my phone ringing. The caller identified themselves as a police officer, asking if I was Liam Johnson's wife. After confirming, they told me to come to the First People's Hospital immediately. They said my husband had been involved in a fight and was severely injured, currently in surgery. I gathered my things and took a taxi to the hospital. On the way, Lily called, asking if I had also been contacted by the police. Yes, I'll be there in about 10 minutes. 20 minutes later, I arrived at the hospital. Lily was pacing at the entrance. Seeing me, she rushed over. We've finally reached this point. She was trembling with excitement. I nodded. Looks like they're all seriously injured. I wonder how Jane is. Not good. Lily pointed inside. I saw Jane's parents earlier. They were crying as they went in. It made sense. Lily had recognized Jane's parents from her social media posts. Let's go in. We asked the nurse at the front desk and learned that the injured were in surgery on the 5th floor. Taking the elevator up, we immediately saw 2 police officers. Behind them, Jane's parents were huddled together, crying with a few other worried-looking people. Seeing us, the officers approached. Are you family of the injured? Yes, I'm Liam Johnson's wife. I pointed to Lily. She's Jack's girlfriend. We met downstairs. Lily. Before the officers could speak, 2 elderly people rushed to Lily. It's our son's fault. Who would have thought he'd get so badly hurt over a woman? Lily pretended to comfort the elderly couple, helping them to a nearby bench. I stayed to ask the officers for details. They explained they had received a call about a brawl at a villa in the suburbs. The scene was chaotic, with 3 men and 1 woman all seriously injured. When they arrived, only 1 man was still standing, while the others were unconscious and covered in blood. I asked about the woman. The officer said she had been thrown out of a window. The villa was 3 stories high, and the woman had landed headfirst on a rock, causing a severe head injury. Cough. I glanced at Lily, who was struggling to suppress a laugh, pretending to cough into her hand. How badly is my husband hurt? Quite seriously. The doctors said he has multiple fractures and internal bleeding. Do you have any other family here? I shook my head. Our parents are deceased. You can talk to me. All right. The man still standing at the scene is Jack. The officer pointed to the side. I noticed William, guarded by 2 officers, receiving in 4. He's under investigation for assault. If you need compensation, let us know, and we'll record it. Okay. The officers continued their duties, while Lily finished comforting the elderly couple and pulled me aside. I heard everything. Jack is also badly hurt. Serves them right, those scumbags. ## chapter 13. The next morning, after a night of surgery, my husband and Jack were out of danger. Jane had also survived, but her head injury had caused irreversible brain damage. She would live with reduced intelligence and a visible dent in her skull. Lily and I didn't stay in the hospital, instead hiding in a stairwell on the 2nd floor, listening to the gossip. The entire hospital was buzzing with the scandal. Apparently, the ambulance had brought them to the nearest hospital, which happened to be where they all worked. From early morning, the story of Jane juggling 3 men from the same hospital and their subsequent fight had spread like wildfire. I always thought Jane was trouble, flaunting those gifts on social media. Yeah, I saw those too. I thought she had landed a rich guy. Turns out it was multiple guys. No wonder she posted those gifts, hiding them from each other to make them jealous and buy more. They were partly right. Jane only played my husband and Jack against each other. She wouldn't dare with William. According to Ava, Jane and William were serious about getting married, while she was just using my husband and Jack for fun, planning to discard them eventually. Ava had seen Jane and William discussing wedding plans. The villa purchase was likely for their future together. Buzz. My phone vibrated. It was a message from the police asking where I was. I replied that I had gone home to get some clothes, as my husband's hospital stay was indefinite. I still had a lot to do before I could be free. Lily, on the other hand, was in a better position. She and Jack hadn't married yet, so his parents couldn't impose on her. What's your plan? Lily turned to me. I thought for a moment before answering. Strike while the iron's hot. ## chapter 14. Back home, I didn't rush to pack clothes. Instead, I took my husband's phone and checked his recent transactions. Since we managed our finances separately, I had never checked his accounts. He never deleted these records, which detailed every transaction with Jane. from small transfers to larger sums, culminating in the $40,000 spent on the car. He was indeed generous. In all these years, he hadn't spent even $5,000 on me and our daughter, yet he could easily drop $40,000 on a car for his mistress. I took screenshots of all these records and had them notarized by a lawyer friend from college. When I presented these records to Jane's parents, they were indignant. They claimed my husband had given the money willingly, and their daughter had earned it. What a family! I handed them a lawyer's letter, stating that if they didn't return the money, we'd see them in court. My husband was already in a dire state, so I wasn't afraid of public embarrassment. But their daughter, with her head injury, would have to appear in court. Jane's parents thought it over and asked for a deadline to gather the money. I wasn't in a hurry but didn't want them to delay. I gave them 10 days, demanding the car back first. I had been contemplating buying a car for years. How could I let someone else drive it? Jane's parents agreed. Her mother stayed at the hospital, while her father went to retrieve the car keys and $5,000 in cash from Jane's home. The $5,000 was just a fraction of what my husband had given. They still owed the rest. Seeing they were trustworthy, I didn't push them. I returned to my husband's hospital room and informed the police. The police, seeing my calm demeanor, didn't say much. From their perspective, I was also a victim, cleaning up the mess my husband had made. They said I'd need to visit the police station a few times for the investigation. I agreed, knowing the compensation would be part of our marital assets. My husband had insurance, so the actual costs weren't high. After the police left, I used my husband's fingerprint to pay for the cheapest caregiver. Only a fool would stay to take care of him. I needed to go home and prepare for the divorce. In his current state, he couldn't stop me. He couldn't even beat me as he had in the past. He'd lose his job and spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. He probably never imagined that his infidelity would lead to such a downfall. Chapter 15. Leaving the hospital, I stretched, watching the bustling crowd. My phone buzzed with a message from Lily. She said she felt a connection with me and asked if we could stay in touch even after she broke up with Jack. I replied, "Of course. This is just the beginning. I want to see how Jane lives with that dent in her head. Besides, they're not dead yet. There might be more drama to come."